The decisive battle for Onigashima on top of Onigashima that involves Onigashima begins at last. 5 mighty members of the worst generation, Monkey D. Luffy, Roronoa Zorro, Eustace Captain Kidd, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, and Killer against the 2 emperors, Big Mom Charlotte Linlin and Kaido. Which one of these mighty behemoths will survive until the end of the Fire Festival? Take it all bets, everybody! Take it all bets! Who's gonna get that final attack on Kaido? Who's gonna face off against Napoleon? Barry, I bet you 5 slips of orange paper that Zorro is gonna slice off Kaido's head. What do you say about that? Oh, that's a bold claim. Barry's going with the underdog. He's going with Killer. He thinks Killer's gonna lop off the head at the end of it, right? You know what? I think that's the last thing people are expecting, but Barry, we'll see where that goes. There's a lot of bets on that. All right, so seriously though, I'm gonna play a game, all right? Would you guys indulge me to play a game? You don't have to participate, but if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it now because the battle just started in the last chapter, okay? And I'm probably gonna need some help with this. We're gonna go ahead and try to count how many individual attacks these 5 supernovas will deal to Kaido. All right, and the game is, who do you think is going to numerically deal more attacks to Kaido? Not attacks that, like, you know, deal the most damage or who gets the final attack on Kaido, none of that. But, like, individual attacks, who is going to leave the biggest mark on Kaido in that regard, okay? So last chapter, Luffy kicked everything off by launching a Gear 3rd Ryuo Red Rock. Boom! So we got, right now, Luffy dealt 1 attack to Kaido, and we'll see where the rest of this goes. But place your bets. I'm probably going to need some help counting this. So every chapter from here on out, if you just want something extra to do, if you would feel like counting the individual attacks and leaving them in a comment so I got some consensus here, that would be great. When it comes to... Now, keep in mind, when I'm saying individual attacks, like, for example, if Luffy uses a Gatling, because if Luffy uses Gatling, we're kind of already... This whole system is broken right there. So Gatling attacks will count as 1. If Law were to happen to summon a bunch of rocks and throw them at Kaido, I can't imagine that would happen. If that were to happen, that would just be 1 attack. All right, because I can't count like every individual blow if Luffy uses, like, you know, elephant Gatling or something, right? And plus it's a manga that's not going to be able to be conveyed that well. So yeah, just individual attacks, and they don't even have to be named attacks. Like if Luffy uses Red Hawk against Kaido, boom, that's 1 attack. But if Luffy just like walks up and he's all like, he's beat to crap, he's about to pass out, and he's just like, and just punches him without naming the attack, that counts too. All right, so let's dive into it. The decisive battle for Onigashima, chapter 1001. Okay, and we have Jinbei hanging out on top of a jellyfish as part of the color spread. That's, interestingly enough, a little survival tip here from Tekking. If you ever find yourself in the middle of open ocean and there's a bunch of jellyfish around you, like if you're off the coast of Australia where those things are those box jellyfish, like the really, really dangerous ones that the stings are insanely painful, you can avoid them by jumping on top of them, because the tops of jellyfish are basically like in a Mario game, they're like trampolines, right? This has been survival. Don't do that, 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 please. Jellyfish are not trampolines, but Jinbei seems rather comfortable just chilling out on the back of a jellyfish. Okay, so continuing on, what happened last time, and this was great, because like Luffy, you know, he did the red rock, he hit Kaido right in the face, set his head on fire, and Kaido got beat down into the ground of Onigashima, the roof, okay? And then, of course, Luffy ended out the chapter, because it was chapter 1000. He ends it out with landing and being really dramatic, like, I will become the king of the pirates. Boom! And he's like, strikes a pose, and then the chapter ends. What's really great is, of course, for us, that was like dramatic timing, like strikes the pose, chapter ends. But in the context of the actual story, the chapter didn't end, it just continues on. It's their lives, right? So Luffy beats Kaido, strikes the pose, and then he's like, I'm gonna be king of the pirates. And Big Mom's off to the side just like, Are you still going on about that? Why are you dramatically posing and looking in another direction, Straw Hat? You're still going on about being king of the pirates? What kind of king will you even be? There's even a scene, I'm cutting to it now because it's funny. There's a scene later on in the chapter where Big Mom is like, you know, what kind of, do you even know what it means to become king of the pirates? Do you even know what that's going to entail, really? Or are you just going around and just yelling it to everybody that you come in contact with, right? And that made me laugh because I'm thinking like Big Mom's up there like, do you know what it means to be a king, Luffy? You gotta fill out paperwork, you gotta keep a track of everything, right? You just can't be going around claiming to be king. That's a lot of hard work. But at any rate, yeah, Luffy lands the hit on Kaido. First attack of the battle. Zorro is there like, oh man, that must be that new hockey that old man Hyo taught Luffy. Kid is very surprised. He's like, what? We can hurt Kaido with physical attacks? Well, dang, we might actually have a chance to win now. What was Kid's plan? That's so funny. It's just like, you know, I don't know what Kid was trying to do. He's like, I'm gonna go and beat Kaido's ass. I'm gonna make a giant robot and punch him. Oh wait, yeah, that's a physical attack too. Eustace Kid uses flash cannon. Boom! It's funny because Kid was surprised that just using hockey and physical blows can damage him. I don't know what his plan was before that, but whatever. Killer is like, fa 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 fa! We can do this, we can win. And then Law is there off to the side. He's not even responding to the attack. Law is just there like, yeah, okay, I have something to say, and then he just gets cut off. It's like Zoro's like, oh man, that's the mighty hockey Hyo taught him. It's Ryuo. And Kid and Killer are shocked, and Law's like, yeah, that's great. Hey, I have something to say before we start. It just gets cut off. We'll find out what he meant to say later. It's also really rather funny. Kaido's on the ground. He gets up. The roof does not collapse. I was a little worried about that. I was wondering how that was going to go, because remember, Kaido took out his Kanabo last chapter, struck the ground, and then Luffy red-rocked him in that exact same spot. And we even saw some rubble falling down from the spot where Kaido hit it. So I was thinking maybe, like, the whole roof was gonna collapse and everyone was gonna fall down. But no, roof didn't collapse. Kaido gets up. His head is charred, but he doesn't look like he's not on fire anymore. And he's like, that attack? Actually damaged me, what? So he gets up, and he looks over at Luffy, and he's like very shocked here, like surprised, right? Indicating that those previous attacks that Luffy used back at Okabore Town, when Luffy was just using Gear 4th with his regular hockey and the Gear 3rd attacks, yeah, that did really no damage to Kaido, okay? It just kind of served to like knock him around like a pinball. But now at this point, Kaido's actually kind of like, well, okay, that hurt. And he didn't think about this when the Scabbards were injuring him. The Scabbards managed to draw blood from Kaido too, and Kaido did not make this comparison, okay? So you have to understand that that attack Luffy just dealt against Kaido, the Red Rock, that did probably more damage in that one attack than the Scabbards did individually, all right? Because now Kaido is a little worried. Kaido is kind of looking over at Luffy, and he's just like, there's only a few people in the world that should be able to damage me like that. There's only a few people that could be able to fight me like that. And he sees Luffy, and then behind Luffy, he sees the visage of 5 individuals. We have Kozuki Oden, understandable, Kozuki Oden with Enma and Ame no Habakiri were able to cause the scar on Kaido's dragon form. So, of course, Oden is someone that could go toe-to-toe with Kaido. And then we have Whitebeard next to Oden. Also understandable, Whitebeard being a Yonko. That would have been an awesome fight to see. Next to Oden, of course, is Roger. So, you know, Roger, Oden also. And then we have Rocksteady. I always said Zebek, but we have the anime now, and the way Sengoku said it in the anime in the last episode, episode 958, was Rox-D Zebek. So Zebek, I'll probably switch back and forth. But Rox is there, of course, Rox being the former captain back when Kaido was an apprentice pirate. His first pirate gig was on Rox's crew, most likely. So, you know, probably every now and then, Kaido, as a teenager probably at that time, was just like, hey, you know, Master Rox, Captain Rox, let me fight you. And Rox is like, I'm working! Bam! He just knocks Kaido back. So that probably is something. And then the last person we see, and it's awesome that Oda did this, because you see Luffy in the foreground, and then the images of these pirates behind him, and Shanks is right behind Luffy. He's like partially obscured by Luffy's head, so that's cool that like Oda drew Shanks like right over Luffy, indicating of course the similarities there. And so of course Shanks. Now this harkens back to the battle that happened off-screen right before Marineford, when Kaido's forces were apparently heading toward Marineford, and then Shanks' forces had to cut them off, and then not only did Shanks succeed in forcing Kaido back at that moment, Shanks also had enough free time to arrive at Marineford and stop a global war event! And, in addition to that, when Shanks drove up to freaking Marineford with the Red Force and his crew, they didn't look any worse for the wear. They didn't even look like they even had a battle that they just came from, right? They were looking fine, they were looking hardy, none of them had bandages on, none of them were bleeding or injured. They looked like they showed up to Marineford tip-top shape. We still have no idea how that happened. I threw out the idea a few times, hey, maybe Kaido and Shanks didn't even fight. Maybe Kaido didn't go himself. That was an idea. Maybe Kaido sent maybe his calamities to go to the war, and then Shanks just stopped them. Because I was trying to figure out some way to make sense out of it, but no. From this explanation that Kaido is giving, when Kaido is looking at Luffy and he's thinking of all the other people in the world that could, you know, equal his power, interestingly enough, Big Mom is not present there. Maybe that's just because Big Mom is right next to Kaido, so he doesn't even think about her, or it's just like, I don't want to, or maybe Kaido thinks that he really is that much stronger than Big Mom. Like, yeah, I guess she's tough, but if we fought, I would definitely win, you know? I don't know the whole deal there. I would assume Big Mom would be able to put up a decent fight with Kaido. Blackbeard is a relatively new Yonko on the scene, so it would make sense why Kaido doesn't think of him. Him and Kaido, Blackbeard and Kaido might not even had a direct confrontation yet. But no, this seems to imply, unless there was some other encounter earlier, you know, when Kaido fought Shanks. But other than that, I think this is referring to the moment at Marineford when Shanks was there, Kaido showed up, and Shanks did something, not sure what. I mean, it would be crazy if, like, Kaido, his ship arrived, the Red Force cuts them off, Shanks steps out with Griffin, and he's like, hey, Kaido! Just go back, man. Just turn around, go back to Wano. I got this. And Kaido's like, look. You don't tell me what to do, red hair. And then he turns into a giant dragon and launches like the Boro breath. And Shanks is just like, bang! And then knocks it right back into his face. And Kaido's like, turns back into an Oni. He's like, all right, whatever. I'm too tired for this crap. Come on, boys, we're going home. They could have been something like that, where just like one attack from Shanks was all it took for Kaido to know, like, all right, we could fight these guys, but whatever, I don't even care about Whitebeard anymore, you know, and he just leaves, right? So, I don't know, but that implies some things. All right, so that's an awesome scene there. Now we have Kaido smirking. We have Kaido kind of like, how far, how high of a ceiling are you willing to break through, Straw Hat? So he's a little excited here. I think this is piquing his hobby. The hobby that Kaido has of, like, jumping off of Sky Islands and stuff, trying to end his own existence, right? This is like, I completely destroyed this kid in Curry. What happened since then? And so he's like, you know what? All right. Let's see where this is gonna go now. So he takes out his Kanabo, and Luffy's still standing kind of right in front of him, you know? He's just like, all right. Thunder Bagura! Let's see if you can dodge this one. So he uses Thunder Bagura. Again, Luffy uses his future sight from the Katakuri fight, and he manages to dodge it, kind of. He manages to avoid the brunt of the hit. Last time he got that, you know, like point blank right in the face. He took that Kanabo hit, right? Here, he managed to dodge the hit. I'm assuming it was due to the hockey added, plus the shockwave of that attack, and also the fact that, like, lightning bolts are, like, shooting off his Kanabo. Luffy still took damage. He still gets hit in the head. Blood is still spurting out of his noggin. But he's like, man, I dodged it with future. I saw the future, and it still hurt me, right? You know, it's just probably because of shockwaves and that hockey just pouring off of it. But Kaido does mention, all right, you took the hit better than last time. You didn't get hit, you know, front on with it. You were able to dodge it. You've gotten better. That's interesting, Straw Hat. Yeah. So, okay. By the way, we're not counting Kaido's hits or hits on Big Mom or anything like that. Speaking of Big Mom, she pops up and then she uses Prometheus to try to attack Luffy. Zorro shows up with a technique he actually stole from Kinemon. He uses the Foxfire style Flame Rend, and he slices the fireball in half. Actually slices Prometheus, the entirety of Prometheus in half, as well as with the attack that Prometheus was attempting to do there. And so Luffy's like, that's Kinemon's attack! And Zoro's just like, yeah, I stole it. Now, I don't really know exactly how that went, just by Zorro, like just witnessing Kinemon slice up Smiley at Punk Hazard, witnessing maybe using the attack a few times in Wano. He was able to pick up on the trick. It is Zorro we're talking about here, and he is like a samurai, and Kinemon is a samurai, so it infers that, you know, someone that's like a samurai would be able to mimic attacks that are caused by samurai. Zorro can cut fire now. That's all you need to understand, right? And that really shouldn't be something that should be surprising to anybody. He had that blaze technique he used to finish off Ryuma at Thriller Bark. That was a technique that sparked fire, so being able to cut fire, I'm sure Kinemon worked at it for years and years and years to get to that point, but Zorro is Zorro, so yeah, it's not really that big of a huge bonus, but it is interesting it added something new to Zorro's repertoire. Okay, so he can now slice fire. Prometheus is sliced in half, but it's not the same thing that happened with Zeus. Remember when Zeus got sliced in half by Brook, and then all of his lightning kind of discharged at once like a bomb going off, and then he shrunk down into little mini chibi Zeus, and then Nami grabbed him? You know, not the same thing that happened with Prometheus. Prometheus split in half, but he's still very much, you know, just two fireballs that are sentient and very large. They're not like, you know, discharging and then going down into chibi Prometheus. So still dangerous, but Zorro can kind of deal with those attacks, no problem there. So he's about to get hit again from Kaido as Luffy kind of like dodges the fire and then, you know, praises Zorro. All of a sudden Kaido's like, you know I'm still here, right? I'm going back with that backswing. Goes with the Kanabo. Law uses Shambles, which is great. I made a video talking about how this fight should really be structured, and Law should be the one on support. Law should, I mean, he can deal out damage too, because he just opens up a giant enough room, he can do that, but he should really be the one on the sidelines, you know, using his shambles and tact and like moving everybody around the battlefield. Now, given Law, I mean, he's still a pirate too. He's a captain. He has his own sense of ego and everything. I think he wants to deal damage to Kaido too. And this is an interesting moment where we get a look into that, because after he uses shambles to, you know, get Luffy out of harm's way, he kind of grabs him and Luffy's like, oh, thanks, Traffy. It's like, no, wait a second. Straw Hat, I'm just letting you know right now, I did not save Kinemon and the others because you told me to. And Luffy's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? No, you're not getting out of this one, all right? You told me to send Kinemon and the others down below. I did that, but that was because I was going to anyway. It's not because you told me to, Baka. Just want to clear that up. I'm my own pirate captain. Is Law turning into a Luffy tsundere? Because you know what? I'm fine with that. That's great. We're in the middle of this massive battle, and they're going up against not one, but two of the emperors, and Law is just like, I gotta clear something up before we get into this. You, Kaido, Big Mom, you shut up for 20 seconds. I need to talk to him about something. Right, he's like, okay, geez, mama, all right, you need to talk about it. All right, see, I was gonna do the thing. I was gonna save them all. It's like, okay, Law, I get it. No, I don't think you do get it. I'm not following your orders. And they're in front of Kid and Killer over there, and Kid and Killer are just having a chuckle fest about this. They're just like, so, form an alliance with the Straw Hats, or are you just their subordinate, Law? I was like, shut up! Oh, Law. It's just like, you know, he's a real, like, out of these five, he's easily the smartest and the most tactical when it comes to this kind of stuff, but this is like so petty. It's just like, unless Law brings it up, he's not going to be able to focus on the battle, right? Because he's just like, I need to clear the air on this right now, or else I'm not going to be able to fight this guy. All right, but okay, are you all right, Luffy? All right, I don't listen to you. I follow my own orders. I'm like, I just did it because I felt like it. Okay, cool. So anyway, that was pretty funny there. Next up is another great little comedy moment here, because a battle with two emperors just spells all the comedy, all of the yucks. So Big Mom now uses an attack called Heavenly Bonbons, which basically it's Prometheus shooting off a bunch of fireballs, 3 of them to be exact, each one heading for Law, Luffy, and Kid respectively. I guess she just doesn't care about Zorro or Killer. But anyway, these fireballs are heading toward the three of them, and it's Luffy, I think, that's like, hey, the one that flinches the first is the weakest. You know, so playing that game like you're little kids, and you're just like, you know, he's like, don't flinch when, like they throw the punches in someone's face, and you stop right before you hit their face. Like, don't flinch, you know? So they're basically playing that game with a bunch of giant fireballs controlled by a user of the soul fruit that is one of the emperors. Yeah, that's what they're doing. And of course, Law and Kid are at first like, we're not gonna listen to you. That's stupid. That's like a child's game. This is serious. And Luffy's like, okay, I guess you're just the weakest then. And he's like, well, fuck. So they end up doing it anyway, all three of them. So the fireballs get really close to their face and like, I'm not gonna flinch, I'm not gonna flinch, I'm not gonna flinch. And then they each make the, huh? Face as the fireballs get right up, you know, right about to hit them, right? And so, because none of them flinch, that was the joke. So they all make the ha face, and then boom, they all get hit. Now look, I know it might seem petty and stupid, especially in such a high-stakes battle, but they proved that, well, I guess they all proved they can make a funny face and they can tank a fireball hit. So I guess that's what they proved at the end of it. Zoro's off to the side, just like, what are you idiots doing? Ah, whatever, let's just get to it, Killer, let's go. Killer and Zorro kind of have some back and forth in this chapter. I really like it. After this whole battle is over and they're having a big banquet in the Fire Festival Hall or back at, like, Wano or whatever, I want to see Zorro and, like, Killer just getting drunk together and just being like, man, remember that time in the fight when they all took a fireball to the face? Like, yeah, that was stupid. Glug, glug. More grog! You know, I think this is the beginning of a friendship. Kaido kind of tells Big Mom to stay back. I kind of figured that was going to happen at some point. She kind of does for a little while, just to kind of, like, take some hits for Kaido, because Kaido's, like, you know, wants to take some hits for himself and see what it really is. And Big Mom comes back later at the end of the chapter, but she does listen to him for the time being. Like, you know, he's like, you know, stay back, Lin Lin. I want to see what these members of the worst generation are really capable of, right? And so Zorro puts on his bandana. Killer's in the background. Zorro knows immediately who Killer was. He's like, oh, you know, follow behind me, Zo. And, you know, there's not many people that have a laugh like that, and Killer's just like, yeah, whatever, I'll let you know that back when I was Zo, if I had my Punisher blades here, that's the name of Killer's attacks, the spinning buzzsaw blades of death are the Punisher blades. That's pretty damn cool. And it's a name that fits perfectly for Killer. Here's something. So before he ate the smile fruit, Killer was very stoic. He was a very kind of like level-headed individual. Much more rational than someone named Killer you would give credit for. But Kid was always the one that was like rampaging into battle. And Killer was, you know, going behind him, of course, but he was always a little bit more level-headed and everything like that, right? And so imagine, like, he's kind of like a horror movie, like, you know, slasher villain, like Jason Voorhees or whatever. Like, he's got the mask, he's got the spinning Punisher death blades. Like, my point is, imagine this. You're running around an old abandoned warehouse or an old abandoned, you know, steel mill or whatever, and then all of a sudden you don't hear his voice. You just kind of hear the sounds of him revving up those Punisher blades, like, and then you turn around and then this masked killer's there, literally a masked killer coming to get you, right? But now that he's eaten the smile fruit, even though he's embarrassed by the laughter that he has to say now, I think honestly this just makes him even more intimidating. Because now picture you're running through the abandoned steel mill, and before you hear the death blades whirl up, you just hear like, you know, and then I think that's more intimidating. I think that's more scary, right? So, yeah, I mean, Zorro, he just mentions the laugh, and, you know, Killer's just like, if I had these Punisher blades, you would have been dead back then. And Zorro's like, nah, the outcome would have been the same regardless, because Zorro was only fighting with 2 of his swords back then, because he didn't have Shusui. So I kind of want to see a rematch between these two, but, you know, not right at the moment. Okay, so they use 2 attacks. Zorro uses Purgatory or Rengoku Onigiri against Kaido, so boom, 1 attack there for Kaido. And then we have Killer using Beheading Blades, which basically is just revving up his Punisher blades and then aiming for the neck, essentially. So Zorro got a hit and Killer got a hit there. Okay, pretty cool. We see a close-up of Kaido's neck as both of these attacks hit, and it really doesn't seem like, it didn't pierce through his skin, it just kind of seemed to leave like tread marks on his neck, you know, like tire tracks or whatever. It's like the attack hits, and Kaido's skin is just so ridiculously durable, it's just like, I think he coughs up some blood. Hold on, let me pull that scene up really quick. No, I don't see him coughing up any blood. I just see him with the tracks on his neck, and then with, like, him just, like... Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So Zorro just mentions, like, oh, I need to release more of Enma's power. I haven't released all of its power yet, okay? I think what this is Zorro is probably capable of releasing Enma at its full power. The problem is, if he does that, it sucks out a lot of his haki from what we saw before. So I think Zorro maybe has a pretty good handle on maybe regulating the haki, and he can go to 100% if he wants, but the detriments to him are a lot more increased if he tries that, right? So, I don't know. I mean, Zorro's probably not going to name his attacks like Deku. He's probably not going to go like, Enma, 15%! You know, he's not going to do anything like that. But clearly, this is not at full power. Zorro says as much, and he can probably raise the power, but he's like, all right, I can raise it to maybe 80 or whatever, but that's gonna suck out more of my haki, and that's gonna be a bit of a struggling match here, and, you know, during the middle of pitched combat with an Emperor, that's gonna be kind of dangerous. But Zorro's techniques could definitely get a level up there. And it was also cool to see just Killer using his acrobatics and his Punisher blades. Punisher blades, right. Okay, so now we kind of get to more of the final scene of the chapter here, where after Killer and Zorro's respective attacks, Luffy, Law, and Kid have recovered from the bonbons, they've recovered from the fireballs, and now they're ready to break out some of their most high-octane attacks to all hit Kaido at the same time. It's the moment you've all been waiting for! Kid goes punk rotten, Law opens up a room, and Luffy goes Gia Forsu! And so Bound Man, I'm not counting Law's just opening up a room as a hit on Kaido, because that's like the prerequisite. Also, we learned that Punk Rotten is kind of the prerequisite for Kid. Before, Punk Rotten could have been considered like just an attack in and of itself, but no, it's like Punk Rotten, and then he makes stuff out of scrap metal, and then that's the full effect of the technique, okay? So for Luffy, it would be like Gia Forsu, Gum Gum Rhino Schneider, and Law, it's Room, Tact, or Shambles. With the Kid, it's Punk Rotten makes something and then uses like Punk Vice. That's the technique we see here, okay? So let's talk about Kid first, because his is the coolest, alright? We've seen Bound Man before. Law makes a giant bubble. Whoop-de-damn-do, who cares? Kid makes a freaking Megazord! A demonic, evil Megazord! Giant robot made of scrap metal with a skull. The skull is completely just, you know, aesthetic. He doesn't need to have a skull. It's a giant robot. It needs to have an intimidating face, right? So he makes this really creepy skull. I'm sorry, Brook, you gotta work for that. It actually does kind of resemble the scene in Totland when Brook faces down against all the chess soldiers and he's like, and then the ghost visage demon Brook appears behind him, right? It kind of resembles that, right? And so it's a very intimidating skull, and he has a giant robot. When I say a giant robot, I mean a giant, no bullshit robot, all right? This thing is like Kaido's this big, the robot's like this big, all right? It's huge, all right? It can literally crush Kaido, and even Kid says as much. He's just like, hey, Kaido, you got some pretty thick skin there. What'll happen if I just crush it with a robot mighty fist? And Kaido's like, well, bring it on. Let's see what happens. And so here we go. They all launch their attacks. Oh, there's a fun moment. I have to mention this. Okay, so Kid says the thing about crushing him. Luffy he doesn't say anything. He just gears up the Gumu Gumu no Kong gun he's gonna use. And then Law is just like, I will eliminate you from within. Death by surgery. I will deal an attack from inside, a surgeon's death. Which means I'm gonna summon a bunch of rocks to crush you. Because that's what he does. He's like, I will give you a surgeon's death. And then just picks up a bunch of rocks and throws rock slide and just throws them at Kaido. It's like, radio knife, gamma knife, he's like, maybe later. He's like, well, later I'm gonna use those, but for right now, just giant rocks will be good enough. You know, that's an attack as delicate as a surgeon, summoning a rock slide to, you know, destroy your enemy, right? And so Law summons the rocks, Luffy's got his Kong gun, and then Kid uses his Punk Vice to all attack Kaido at the same time. So, Kong gun, boom! Kid, Punk Vice! Kaido's right in the middle of the two fists, boom, and just crushes him, and then Law's just tacked, and then pff, causes the rock slide on him right there. So, attack for Kid, Luffy, and Law. Like I said, obviously Law dropped a bunch of rocks on him. I'm not going to count every individual rock, and I'm not going to count Kid's attack as 2 attacks. It's just the same attack, just to keep it simple, alright? So far we have Luffy in the lead right now with 2 attacks, and then everybody else in an even 1. So Oda's done a pretty good job so far to make sure everybody could get a hit in on Kaido. Now, keep in mind also, Kaido is letting them do that, alright? He literally said to Big Mom, back off, I want to see what they're capable of, right? So he's literally letting himself get hit. And you saw that with Killer and Zorro when they used their, like, attacks on his neck. He's like, yeah, yeah! So he really wants to see how strong they are to, like, test their limits. And he's smirking through this whole thing, by the way. Like, right before he's about to get that triple threat right in his center here, he's like, bring it. So, yeah. They all attack him at once. Big Mom then rises up and she summons a bunch of clouds and she's got Zeus going. She takes out Napoleon into the flaming, the cognac sword mode. Okay, so it's doing that. Kaido gets beaten down by these attacks, but it doesn't seem to do him a lot of damage because he just transforms into a dragon and emerges out of the rubble as a giant koi duck dragon, and he lords over all of them, and we get the last beautiful double-page spread here where you have Kaido lording over all of them like, I kind of want to leave you guys alive. Not even kidding, I kind of want to leave you alive for later, but it can't be helped because I got a plan that needs to be brought to fruition here, and once I defeat all of you, I'll take your crews, I'll take your treasure. You probably also got some road poneglyphs. That'll be a nice little boon too. Whoever wins this battle will be ever the more closer to becoming king of the pirates. End of chapter, and break next week. Of course. But, amazing double page. Also, the attack, I'm not really sure who does this attack here. I'm guessing it's Kaido, but Big Mom also has the cognac. So, Kid's robot loses an arm. Kid has this giant robot that he summoned. I just stepped on a thumbtack. Ow. Kid, damn you! But anyway, he has this giant robot, and in the last scene, it just shows his arm getting ripped off. So I'm assuming that was Kaido when he turned into a dragon, or maybe Big Mom with the sword that sliced us off. I don't think it's that big of a deal, because since Kid has the literal powers of magnetism at his display, he could literally just, oh no, my arm fell off. Just reattach it whenever he wants, right? I mean, that's how his fruit works, right? We also have, like, this really cool, like, wheel thing on Kid's back. Keep in mind, the whole thing is literally just made out of scrap metal. He's not summoning the robot. Like, it's not like he designed it. I mean, he did, but it's, like, all built out of scrap. Also, there was a scene that, in an SBS, I think, once, or in one of the data books, Oda drew Kid and all the other supernovas as kids, like, growing up. And when he drew Kid, it showed him with a robot, like a toy robot. So that would make sense that his ultimate attack, or his version of Gear 4th would be a giant robot, alright? A giant, very intimidating robot. I'm really digging the attacks that Kid's bringing to the table here. I'm thinking, like, yeah, Luffy's Gear 4th moves are awesome. I would love to see Snake Man and Tank Man and some other forms of mans in this fight. That'd be cool. Law's always awesome with his room, but I'm really looking forward to all the crazy stuff that Kid can make with his magnet fruit, which we've still yet to find out the name of, but we'll get to that eventually, okay. And so we got Kaido as a dragon, and Big Mom in full rage mode with her cognac, and Zeus and Prometheus. We ended the chapter with everybody just kind of standing tall in front of Kaido. Zoro's got his swords out. Luffy's still inbound, man. Keep that in mind. He's bouncing up and down. Killer's got his blades. Law's standing on a rock, and Kid is still inside of his mech. So, yeah, we have yet to get to that combo attack I'm waiting for, but we didn't get a combo attack this time. We just got all 3 of them using their signature attacks on Kaido. Luffy didn't even bust out the King Kong gun yet against him, so we still got some moments. We can level up here. Zorro says he can still increase the power of Enma. I'm sure Kid and Law and Killer all got different moves. That these are just their introductory attacks. These are the attacks that would normally, like, if they would have attempted that decapitation attack against anybody else, they wouldn't have a head right now. Like, I'm imagining like that would slice up buildings in the background. It's just Kaido is that durable, right? So they're gonna have to knock it up a notch, but it's coming, everybody. It's coming in 2 weeks, but it'll be here. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that is a amazing chapter. Great way to carry it on from chapter 1000. Just keep on the fights, you know, like that's what everybody's been waiting for. We're playing a game here to see, and if whoever wins, whoever places your bets on whichever character, and if you win, then congratulations. Congratulations, you win. But yeah, so let's just see. I'm already kind of regretting this because this is probably going to get ridiculous later on in the fight. If anybody else joins in, by the way, I'm not going to count them. Like if eventually like Sanji or Jinbei show up, I'm not going to count them in the bracket. Let's just keep it with these 5 because I think these 5 are probably going to be consistent throughout the entire fight until Kaido is defeated. At least I'm feeling that. I want like Luffy and Kid and Law and Zorro and I guess Killer, throw him in there too. Why not? He's there to be part of that final beatdown on Kaido when the battle is finally over, right? Maybe they might get knocked out at some point and they come back later. I'm not sure. But I think these 5 are going to be either here at the beginning and I think they're going to be there at the end too. So that's why we're doing this. But anyway, yeah, this was an intense battle. This is just starting off, and we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out. Later, everyone. Hey everybody, I just wanted to make this announcement here at the end to just kind of keep you guys in the loop. I debated whether or not to announce this when it happened. I didn't really feel comfortable doing it over Twitter, so I'll just do it now after everything is wrapped up. We had a death in my family the last week. My grandmother passed away on Monday, January 11th, and she had cancer, and it was a really long-fought battle for about 1.5 years, and her condition it started getting progressively worse. Thankfully, we were able to see her the last few days. She was in a home, and with COVID and everything, you all know how, restrict everything is, but she had a stroke and she didn't have a lot of time left, so they let us in to see her, so I'm grateful for that, and she fought as hard as she could, and she was a lovely lady. But she's not in any pain anymore now, so that's how that is. And I was like, oh, should I tell you guys when it first happened? But I kind of wanted to keep it separate from YouTube for a while so I can kind of obviously I was thinking about it a lot, and it was kind of nice to have a little bit of escape from it with YouTube. Like, I'm thinking about this all day, at least I can spend a few hours working on my content and to kind of take my mind off of it. And so that was kind of my escape, and so that kind of helped me there. And I thought, all right, after everything is wrapped up, then I'll tell everyone. We had her funeral a few days ago. And so I just want to let everyone know, because my schedule the last 2 weeks has been really knocked out of sync because of everything, obviously spending a lot of time with my family. I put out my videos. I like to put out like maybe 5 or 6 a week, and that schedule's been messed up. And even when I put out the videos, the time of days have been messed up. And if you're curious, and I haven't done the Bleach Lieutenant series in a while, the Rangiku video, that's coming out this week, as well as the next one for the Akatsuki. I think I said Obito is going to be next. So in case if anyone's curious about that and why the schedule was a little bit out of sync there, that was the reason. But I'm hoping this week to get back to regularly scheduled programming. I hope you all understand. Thank you all for watching my content and everything. And I just wanted to, let everyone know what was going on. It's been a rough 2 weeks, but hopefully everything now will be a little bit more stable. So yeah, thanks for watching my content, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll catch you back here tomorrow. I'll be doing a follow-up on this review, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right, thanks for watching. Signing out.